They watched Earth in silence, waiting for the right moment to strike. But before this story begins, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because you're about to witness one of the greatest sci-fi battles ever told. Earth lived in days of false peace. Cities bustled with movement, the skies were clear, and no one suspected that something colossal was drawing near. While humanity was consumed by wars, greed, and ambition, a silent danger crossed the vastness of space. Military satellites picked up strange signals, but they were dismissed as technical errors. Little did mankind know that the silence above was the prelude to an unprecedented invasion. Suddenly the clouds parted, revealing a light that did not come from the sun. It was something bigger, stronger, and completely unknown. People in the streets froze, pointing toward the heavens as a colossal structure emerged slowly on the horizon. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a rocket. It was an alien ship, descending with a terrifying silence, as if announcing that humanity was about to lose control of its own planet. While some ran in panic, others grabbed their phones to capture the moment. But no one was prepared for what would come next. Amid the chaos of the ship's arrival, a lone figure emerged from the light. It was a woman, human in form, but with something different in her eyes, as if they carried the weight of 1,000 battles. Her steps were steady, her presence commanding. As everyone else pulled back, she walked toward the heart of the city, as if she already knew exactly what had to be done. Some feared her, others believed she was an angel sent from the heavens. But the truth was even more shocking. She hadn't come to destroy, she had come to save Earth from something far greater. With a deep and steady voice, the warrior spoke for the first time. Her words were not ordinary. Each syllable carried a cosmic weight impossible to ignore. She revealed that she came from a distant world, a planet already consumed by the same invaders now advancing on Earth. What seemed like a visit was in fact a warning. Humanity had little time to prepare. Governments tried to bury the news, but the warrior's gaze made it clear. Either the planet united against the threat, or it would be reduced to ashes like so many before it. The warrior described the enemy, creatures that needed no weapons to conquer. They infiltrated human bodies, controlling their minds and using them as puppets. There was no compassion, no negotiation, only conquest. Reports began to surface in small towns, people vanishing without a trace, others returning. Different. Their eyes empty, their strength unnatural. The enemy was already among us. Her revelation brought fear, but also awakening. Earth wasn't just facing invasion, it was facing the possibility of losing its very identity. The warrior's eyes filled with pain as she spoke of her past. Her homeworld, once a place of peace and beauty, had been consumed by the very same invaders now threatening Earth. She had watched her family destroyed, her people enslaved, her culture vanish in flames. She alone survived, chosen to carry the legacy of resistance. Her mission wasn't only to save another world, it was to avenge the millions who had fallen without a chance to fight back. In that moment, humanity realized she wasn't just an ally, she was a force driven by ancient, unstoppable fury. The first hours of apparent calm gave way to terror. Strange structures began to rise from beneath the ground, living hives erupting in the heart of cities. Inside them, the invaders multiplied silently, waiting for the signal to strike. The military tried to contain the first outbreaks, but soon discovered they weren't fighting mere creatures. They were up against a collective intelligence, able to plan each step with terrifying precision. The whole planet was about to become a battlefield, and with each passing second, the line between human and alien blurred further. The great cities, once symbols of human progress, became the invaders' first targets. Skyscrapers were consumed by flames. Streets once filled with life turned into zones of silence and fear. The enemy didn't attack with brute force alone. They corrupted ordinary people, twisting neighbors, friends, even family into living weapons against each other. No face could be trusted, for the threat could be hiding behind the eyes of the closest loved one. Civilization was crumbling, and every collapse showed that the destruction wasn't only physical, it was psychological. When all hope seemed lost, the warrior revealed her true strength. Her movements were too fast for the human eye to follow. Her power shattered steel, and her energy radiated as though she were part of the very stars. Soldiers who witnessed her were left speechless. No human weapon compared to her presence on the battlefield, but what truly set her apart was not her power, it was her purpose. Every strike reminded humanity that resistance was still possible. Governments across the globe rallied their forces. Troops mobilized, jets tore across the skies, tanks rumbled through shattered cities. But it quickly became clear they weren't prepared for this war. Bullets did little. Missiles detonated with no real impact. Every minor victory cost hundreds of lives. Generals trained in traditional warfare now faced an invisible enemy that infiltrated bodies and multiplied in silence. This war would not be won with weapons alone. Humanity needed something beyond strength. It needed her. At the height of the conflict, disaster struck. The invaders had already infiltrated the ranks of the soldiers. Men sworn to defend their nation turned on their comrades, revealing marks across their backs, proof that they were under alien control. Panic spread. No one knew who to trust. Orders were betrayed, missions sabotaged, entire bases destroyed by leaked intelligence. Humanity's greatest weakness wasn't its weapons. It was its vulnerability to become hosts. In that chaos, the warrior understood. The battle wasn't only against aliens, it was against humanity's own mistrust. What seemed like just another fight became the turning point of the war. In a city under siege, the warrior led a daring counterattack with a small group of survivors. Explosions lit the skies, buildings collapsed, the ground shook with every strike. It was as though Earth itself was resisting. In the midst of the chaos, the warrior unveiled a new ability, a power that could disintegrate the parasites without harming their hosts. For the first time, humanity saw a real chance at victory, and the enemy began to retreat. After the battle, standing in the ruins and the heavy silence of survival, the warrior revealed the truth about herself. She wasn't just a survivor, she was the last daughter of a fallen star empire. Raised in war, trained since childhood, her body was shaped by the science of her people to carry the power of thousands. But there was something even more shocking. Part of her was already human. Her DNA had been fused with Earth's long ago in an ancient experiment to create a bridge between worlds. She wasn't only here to fight, she was here because Earth was, in a way, also her home. While humanity celebrated a temporary victory, the real truth emerged. The invaders' plan was far darker. They weren't here to simply conquer land. Their purpose was to turn Earth into a nest, a living hive that would feed billions of parasites. They had done this before, draining planets until nothing remained. Earth was just the next step in their relentless expansion. Hour by hour, new outbreaks surfaced across cities. The count wasn't of the dead, but of how many humans still remained free. If their plan wasn't stopped, there would soon be no humanity left to save. When it seemed impossible to win, the warrior made a desperate choice. She knew time was running out, and each second lost meant thousands enslaved. Without waiting for reinforcements, she stormed one of the invaders' main strongholds alone. Her footsteps echoed through dark corridors as enemies swarmed from every direction. Every strike was a blend of pain and determination, driven by memories of her fallen people and her vow never to let Earth share their fate. Wounded, she fought on, not for glory, but because she knew if she faltered, no one else would have the courage to rise. The battle reached its breaking point, and the warrior understood that victory demanded sacrifice. At the heart of the alien hive, she found the core that bound the swarm together, a living, pulsing source of energy that fed every parasite across the globe. But there was a cost. Destroying it would mean giving up part of her own life. With unwavering eyes and the memory of her people burning in her soul, she chose what few could, to advance, knowing she might never return, but certain that her pain could mean humanity's survival. Inside the hive's core, she discovered the invaders' hidden weakness. Despite their devastating power, their bond with their hosts was absolute. If the human body was disrupted in certain ways, the parasite suffered too. Exploiting this, She unleashed a surge of energy that severed the link between host and hive. For the first time, the aliens shrieked in pain, their perfect coordination collapsing into chaos. Hope flickered like a flame in the darkness. Victory was possible, but the cost would be greater than anyone dared to imagine. The skies of Earth became the stage of the final war. Enemy ships swarmed in mass, unleashing terror, while humanity's last armies fought desperately for survival. At the center of the battle, the stellar warrior led the charge. Her figure, illuminated by explosions, was a beacon in the storm. Every strike felled dozens. Every cry inspired thousands. It was more than a war between species. It was the final clash between survival and total annihilation. And in that moment, all of Earth held its breath, knowing the planet's fate hung in a single battle. When the final explosion echoed and silence fell, all understood. The war was over. But victory came at a price. Cities lay in ruins, millions were dead, and humanity was forever scarred. At the center of the devastation, the warrior stood, battered and broken, yet her eyes burned with the fire of a mission fulfilled. She had won, but at the cost of nearly everything. The planet was safe, but marked forever by sacrifice. People gathered around her, not as strangers looking at an outsider, but as humanity beholding its savior. With the enemy defeated, Earth began to rebuild. But nothing would ever be the same. The warrior was no longer just a savior. She became a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and hope. Her deeds crossed borders, uniting nations and proving that humanity, despite its flaws, was worth saving. And though her body bore the scars of war, her presence reminded all that the future would only be possible if they remained united. On the horizon, as she gazed up at the endless stars, she knew new enemies could rise one day. But she also knew she had left behind an eternal legacy, the certainty that when evil came, there would always be someone willing to fight.